Piove sull'oceano, piove sull'oceano, piove sulla mia identità. Lampi sull'oceano, squarci di luminosità.
Part 3. The Exempla. In the first and second parts of this book, I presented a condensed treatment of Eckhart's life and understanding of the soul. This concept in Eckhart is crucial in reading his mysticism because it addresses the very nature of human existence. Both Eckhart's life and his sense of human flourishing are essential tools for a person interested in understanding this 14th century theologian, preacher, and mystic. In Part 2, we began to see how this preacher's use of illustrations, or exempla, helped to explain some important aspects of his thought. It is remarkable that a gifted scholar of Paris, versed in the categories of the scholastic thought, was able to preach many of these same ideas to people who had never studied philosophy. His use of these exempla remains a timeless feature that enables even today's beginners to grasp something of his penetrating mind. In his preaching, Eckhart's use of visual imagery was not graphic, but auditory. He used both the power of his words and the imagination of his audience. Certainly, the churches in which he preached had their share of religious art, but Eckhart's ideas needed some other help if his non-university hearers were to understand. The use of exempla was common among preachers. Jesus' parables are a worthy demonstration of their capacity to instruct the believer. Exempla, in a sense, brought the ideas home to a person. Concepts like forgiveness are made real in the story of the prodigal son, moral character in the story of the sower and the seed, God's justice in the story of the rich man and Lazarus. They provide us with a vivid and memorable image whose deeper meaning later begins to surface. Such exempla or illustrations are common in Eckhart's preaching. In the same way they helped people to understand in his day, they can help us today. However, there is one major difference between Eckhart's times and ours, and this deserves special note. Whereas Eckhart spoke to an audience, to listeners, we today are largely spectators, viewers. The visual image is our chief modern medium. Even very primitive pictures help us get the ideas that our ears are hearing. This is why it is so important to include artwork in this book. The amazing thing about exempla is that they want us to draw them out, first in our imagination, then in a more graphic way. These images offer us the reverse task, to enter back into the more imaginative parts of our minds and explore these exempla more deeply. In Chapter 5, I offer the reader a series of illustrations extracted from the texts of Eckhart's sermons. As a respected preacher and teacher, Eckhart was interested in providing his listeners with analogies. He wanted to give these men and women of noble families and of the growing merchant class images that would help them understand some aspects of the spiritual life, as illustrated in their daily lives. The selections in this chapter are a sample of his exempla, illustrations or illuminations, and are just segments of the larger sermon. Here I invite you to engage these exempla as they explain key spiritual insights found in Eckhart. I provide the illustrations context in the sermon so that you can appreciate the biblical inspiration. For each sermon, I give the liturgical text that inspired this preacher's sermon. This is followed by Eckhart's translation of what would have been read to the people in Latin, since his translation often takes liberties with the Latin. Then I give a brief sense of what the entire sermon aims to do. I present the exemplum itself and invite you to reflect on its meaning, asking that you take time to digest his ideas. Reflection is a lost art. It requires a contemplative sense to allow us to discover our true self. Imagine looking into the agitated surface of a pool of water. We see nothing but jagged glimpses. We must let the waters settle so we can see ourself reflected. Reflection is the stilling of the waters in our lives so we can catch sight of our true self.